I'm going to try to make a video answer to this topic, trying to figure out index files in Fusion 360. I have a design that is 43 by 40. I'm trying to figure out how to split to make it indexable to cut on the Pro. I cannot seem to find a tutorial to show how. I will make a quick tutorial right now. Jim showed some screenshot method here of splitting up the sketch. I'm going to show a slightly different method, and this is a completely usable method that Jim showed. Here's Wrencher's design he's going for, the lifting of the flag, and these boxes represent the split and the sheet for reference. Alright, let's recreate this quickly in Fusion. So in Fusion, we're going to start by saving our file, and then create a sketch in the XY plane. I'm going to select the rectangle tool. I'm going to use the center point rectangle tool. Now I will write in my measurements. I'm going to make it 43. I'm going to use tab to select the other dimension box, 40. Okay. I'm double clicking my center mouse button to put everything in frame. Now from here, I have downloaded an SVG that is close to the user's SVG, so I'll insert that now. Now from here, we have a few tools to manipulate that SVG. The most important one is this in the corner, this quarter radius. It is the scale option, which is very, very convenient to use with a SVG. When you put in a DXF, it does not give you this option, but you can still scale by first dimension, which is quite handy. Alright, that fills up the space nicely. Okay. Now from here, we're going to do two extrudes. I'm going to extrude the image he wants, this one. And the only reason we got to do two extrudes is because this is a positive image. If this was a negative cutout sign image, then we would only have to do one. So I'll extrude that. I'm going to extrude it to 14 gauge in thickness. Okay. Now I'm going to turn on the visibility of the sketch again, and I'm going to extrude now the square itself. And I'll also make it 14 gauge, but I'll make sure it is a new body. It's just giving me a warning that it won't be visible because I suppressed the visibility of the bodies. Alright, now I'll turn the visibility back on the bodies, turn the visibility off on the sketches, and we're left with this. Now, we want to split right through here, and the way we're going to do that is we're going to create a construction offset plane. I'm going to start right here on the edge, and I'm going to align that to where I want my division in the, so let's say it's right here, 17 inches down on the sheet. Perfect. Okay, now I'm going to use the split body command. So let's split this body first. Actually, I think we might be able to split them both at the same time. Yeah, we can. We're going to split both the body of what we want and the reference body for our sheet. Okay. This is all we need to do in the design portion. This is prepared, so now we are going to move into the manufacturing portion. In manufacturing, the first thing we're going to do is create a setup. And this setup will be the top half we're going to worry about this time. So under models, we're going to go into model here, and we're going to also open up our models file system on the browser bar. Just so you can see that everything's in here, and we want this and this to be our models. And then we want our stock box point origin to be referenced. I think on the Pro we'll end up referencing it right here. Alright, now we see that this is a little bit outside of where we want this golden box. So now if we look here, we can see this golden box, which is stock. We are going to move into here, and we can see that that's that 25 inches I've left on the stock side offset. That's my typical user default. So I'm just going to select that to 0, and you can see how it jumped in right to the corner. That's exactly what we want. Now in the post-processor menu, we will give a file name. We'll call it index1. Okay. Now that we've completed that first setup, let's create a 2D profile. So we'll select the 2D profile menu, and in here we'll select a tool. I'm not going to get right into building a tool or anything like that, but we'll go in and just select a appropriate tool. Here we go, 14 gauge standard consumables. And I did that in my local library. Select. Now from here, we're going to get our geometry, and what we want to do is select the contours we want here. So we'll start. I actually want to cut out the flag last. So let's get in there and let's select all these contours we want. I do not want face contours. I just want to select, in this case, I do not want face contours. I just want to select these closed contours. And you're bound to accidentally click face contours a few hundred times. So that's fine. Just all right. This is a little tedious, but let's just get in here and get this done. There, I accidentally select a face contour again. Just scroll down the list and remove that geometry. It's better than trying to re-click it and mess around sometimes. All right. So all those closed contours are selected. The other contour we need is the shape of this, but we do not want to select it as a closed contour because it will cut across here. We'll select it, and then we'll scroll down to it on the list. You can double click it, or we'll go to edit. And from here, we'll switch it to a open chain. Perfect. So now let's go around and select this open chain. And they've made an update lately with this open chain selection. Before you had to select every individual bit. Now it's smart enough. You can see it's highlighting around. It knows, it kind of can sense what I'm doing here, which is excellent. So I want all that. Perfect. Okay. And you can see the open chain has been added to my list. Perfect. We're going to move over to passes. I'm going to reduce my tolerance by 1. I'm going to add smoothing. This is the perfect piece for using smoothing and tolerance reduction. Now I'll go into linking. I'm just going to put in some ones I'm comfortable with, but you're welcome to use whatever settings you want in here. Depending on the geometry, it's going to change. Perfect. And now let's hit OK. All right. So we can see that we have all the geometry included, so that's great. That's index cut 1. We would have a little mark on this edge here, 17 inches down on our sheet, which we would align the this work origin to. Make this first cut. And now let's work on the next cut. After the next cut, you'd slide the sheet up and then line it up to this next mark at that same point and reset the work origin. And now let's make a second setup. So let's create a second setup. This will be very much like the first, where we select both our frame of reference and our half of our index cut. We'll go into stock, and this is when you set up a second setup, it always defaults to from preceding setup for your stock reference. We're going to want to change that back to relative size box. And again, my default is 0.25, which we'll want to change to 0. Good. I'll go back to that first menu there and put my stock box point origin to right here. Perfect. You also could do it right to this corner as well, but let's do it right here, because that's going to be where we'll reference this dot to this dot when we move it. And we'll call that index 2. All right. Now let's create a toolpath. It automatically selected that same tool I had last time. And let's get in here and painstakingly select all this geometry again. It's actually not too bad. All right, and then we'll do that one last contour that's going to be our open contour. So we'll start like that, and then we'll scroll down to it in the list. Right click, edit, and we're going to do open chain. Okay, select it to there, and then we'll keep selecting a little further. Perfect. And okay. Now let's move into passes. And in this case, I'm going to preserve the order. I'm going to reduce my tolerance. I'm going to add smoothing. I'm going to put in roughly the same lead in, lead outs. This is up to your discretion. You can do whatever works for you in your situation. I could do 10 videos about lead ins and lead outs. All right. And now, okay, let that generate. Looks like we have something there. Let's move into setup, or let's select all the setups, and then let's take a look at this in a simulation. Perfect. Let's slow that down just a little bit, considering it went very, very, very fast. All right, let's watch this again. Cuts the flag, cuts out all the interior pieces. Now it's going to cut all the middle bits, because we don't want it to cut the outside edge, because then we'll have problems with connectivity to our ground. I shouldn't say our ground, our work clamp. Perfect. Exit simulation. Now we'll go to NC program menu. We'll click that. We'll make sure that we select our fire control post processor. And, oh, excuse me. We're going to want to export these as two separate programs. So I'll select the first setup. And you can see it already labels it as index cut 1. select our post processor. We'll go in here and put our delays to whatever's going to work for us. And post. There's number 1 done. Now let's go select setup 2. You can see it's index 2, same configuration, post. Now we have both our files ready to run. All right, I think that it covers the index cutting. If it was a piece that wasn't a positive piece like this, it was negatively cut into the sheet, then you would just have to skip that step about making these T-rectangular bodies, because the shape itself could be used for that. All right, thank you. Bye.